Hello, students. I hope you're doing well at home. I hope you've enjoyed finishing Call of the Wild. I miss having you in the class. I miss reading with you and talking about the book. But I hope you have enjoyed finishing it up at home. Make sure that you have finished the book before you watch this video, because I'm going to talk about the end of the book and then your final assignment. So double check that you finished the book. If you need to, pause the video, go finish the book, and come back. All right, I hope you caught some of the things that Jack London was asking us to believe that aren't true. Specifically, let's look at the page 70 to 71. So pause it for a minute, go find page 70 to 71, and we're going to look at the bottom of page 70. At the bottom of page 70, we see again Buck imagining, or what Jack London says is imagining, back to his ancestors' visions. Again, we see this hairy man who gathered shellfish and ate them as he gathered. We see him at the very, very bottom of page 70. It says, Buck had memories of nights of vigil spent beneath trees wherein the hairy man roosted, holding on tightly as he slept. Does Buck have visions, or is that what an animal can do? Does he have these memories that he remembers, things from his ancestors? No, we know that Buck doesn't have these memories, and a dog could not remember something that was passed on from his ancestors. Again, it's Jack London asking us to believe in evolution, asking us to believe that the spirits of Buck's ancestors live in him and through him and give him information or knowledge. Whereas we know that God created animals with instincts and without that knowledge. So it goes on to page 71 that he continues that. And then at the end of the first paragraph on page 71, it talks about Buck's habits that he's doing. It might be lying thus that he hoped to surprise this call he could not understand. Again, we hear this call. Of course, our book's called Call of the Wild. So we know this whole time Buck's been hearing, as Jack London puts it, this call to be wild, to be the best that he can. Irresistible impulses seized him. He would be lying in camp, dozing lazily in the heat of the day, when suddenly his head would lift, his ears cock up, intent and listening, and he would spring to his feet and dash away on and on for hours and hours. So we see that Jack London is building up in Buck this desire to be wild, to not be a tame dog, to not be a working dog, but to be a wild dog. And that's what this whole chapter is about. Towards the end of the chapter, we see Buck hunt a moose. And I think it's a moose, not an elk. Yeah, hunt this moose. Moose are huge animals. I don't know if you've ever seen one up close or look them up online and see it compared to a person, but they're huge animals and they're actually pretty vicious. They don't look all that smart or that intelligent, but they're actually quite vicious animals. But Buck picks one out and hunts it. For 4 days he spends on this hunt. The moose doesn't eat, Buck doesn't let him, and they hunt this moose. One of the things that I really want you to catch in here is the definition of the life of this moose. And it is on page 77, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, page 77, that second paragraph says, as twilight fell, the old bull stood and lowered head, watching his mates, the cows he had known, the calves he had fathered, the bulls he had mastered, as they shambled on at a rapid pace through the fading light. He could not follow, for before his nose leapt the merciless fanged terror that would not let him go. Now listen to this last sentence of this paragraph. 300 weight more than half a ton he weighed. He's huge, right? Weighs a ton. He had lived a long, strong life, full of fight and struggle, and at the end he faced death at the teeth of a creature whose head did not reach beyond his great-knuckled knees. Right? So the buck's life is determined by his his children, his offspring, by leading the herd all these years. And then it's saying it's comparing his greatness to him, small, tiny creature that is going to end his life. And it suggests that it makes his life worthless because he ended it that way. It suggests that he can't continue his life well or that his life was purposeless because it ends with Buck destroying him. And so again, we see this sense of might makes right. Anything that's great, anything that's stronger makes it worthwhile or valuable or worth living, which is to a certain extent true when applied to the animal world, right? Every animal God created and allowed to exist and come into being, and so every animal in that way has value. And as people who were required to take dominion over the earth, we're not to mistreat or misuse the animals. But there is a sense in the wild that the strongest animal has the right to live, or has maybe not the right, but the capability of living, which is fine in the animal world. Jack London wants us to take that, and we're going to see in a minute here, it applied to humans. And that is where we run into an issue of this is not supposed to be applied to human life. So when we get later into the story, towards the end, after John Thornton has been killed by the Yeehats, as well as his the person who's traveled with him and the other two dogs, Buck goes and attacks the Yeehats, and then again takes dominion over them. And then he becomes this king of the forest as he joins the pack of wolves. And those wolves get bigger because Buck is with them, and they have kids, and so then his genes mix in with the genes of this pack of timber wolves, and so those wolves get bigger, and the Yeehats learn to fear them, and even to a certain extent worship them because of the great destruction that Buck rained down on them, and because he comes back to visit that cabin every year. And so again, we see this concept of Buck becomes the greatest. Buck becomes the best he can be when he has dominion over everything. He's beaten a moose, which is a massive animal. He now is the fear of man, of the Yeehats. And so again, we see him, Jack London, finishing with this idea that Buck has become master because he's become the greatest and the strongest. And so he continues to live in the forest, and with the pack of wolves that he now leads. So that's the end of Call of the Wild. It's a short book. I hope you enjoyed the descriptions and the vividness and the excellence of Jack London's writing, the gift that God gave to us through someone who's not Christian, and yet used his gifts and talents well. Your project now, I have already given to you, and we talked about in class last week. You have it in the orange packet, or colored packet if yours is an orange, in your binder, and it's called Final Project for Call of the Wild. And your task is to choose a Disney movie, and I do want you to choose one that's designed for children, but you're welcome to choose one of the Marvel movies if you'd like as well. But I want you to choose a Disney movie and watch it. And when you're watching the movie, you need to be asking the question, what is the story asking us to believe, or the creators of the story? Is it true? Why or why not? And read over the handout, read over the assignments with your parents. That's your homework assignment for today. And then on the back of that assignment is a space for you to identify the 3 things that you find that the movie is asking you to believe. And then give a scripture response to them. So that's what I want you to work on. By Monday, you need to have those 3 things determined and ready to start writing your paragraphs on. Be careful. A couple of the easy things to fall into is this what the movie's asking us to believe, or is this something that the movie is projecting that is wrong? So in class, we use the example of Mulan. In the story of Mulan, part of the plot is that Mulan is not treated as an equal in the Chinese culture because she's a woman. Now, that's not the worldview of the movie itself. That is the worldview that they're portraying in the story. So be careful not to get mixed up things that are true within the story, but that the authors don't believe, or the creators of the story don't believe, or worldviews that the movie is portraying as wrong. I really want you to get into what is Disney asking us to believe through this movie. What truth do they want us to come out with through this movie? So that's what I want you to be looking for. Don't write a paragraph telling me, well, it can't be true because animals don't talk. That doesn't work. That's not what the story is asking us to believe. That's just what is part of the make-believe of the story. So I want you to get to what truths or lies are the creators of the story giving us. What are they portraying as true that we find in Scripture is not true? So that's why I would really like for you to sit down, watch it with your parents, and then have a conversation afterwards and have those 3 worldviews that you found in that movie ready to go for Monday's assignment. All right, I hope you have a great week at home. Stay safe and enjoy. Mrs. Cherian and I will be posting some fun challenge videos or challenges for you to do that you could still earn tickets for, and we'll just be sticking tickets on your desk or keeping track of them for the end of the year. So we miss you guys. We hope you're staying well, and we will see you soon. Bye.